Hey Fusion Leaders, welcome to another Small Group Leaders video. We're in week 5, the final week of our series Respect, and in this week we're talking about enemies. That the final group of people that God wants you to respect is to respect your enemies. Actually, He doesn't want you to just respect your enemies, He wants you to love your enemies. Jesus teaches us to love and respect our enemies, and that's what we're going to talk about in the video. Now, there's a few different texts that we look at in the video. The main one is Luke 6 that kind of drives everything else that we're talking about. But before we get to Luke 6, we have this question. Do you think it's possible to never have an enemy? Why or why not? And then how do you normally deal with people who are your enemies, i.e. people who are hard to get along with? So begin by talking about, is it realistic to think that you might never have an enemy? There might be some students who feel that way. Maybe some of you feel that way. But when we think of an enemy as a person that's hard to deal with, hard to get along with, a person who seems to be out to get us, that they gossip about us or rude to us, then it's probably pretty unrealistic that we'll never have an enemy, that we'll never have someone at school or at work or on a team that doesn't like us. We're probably all going to have people that don't like us for whatever reason. Even those of you who are wonderful, amazing people, I'm sure you've had someone who didn't like you at some point in your life. And so what does the Bible say about dealing with them? Now, have students share about how they deal with their enemies. Maybe they tried to ignore them, maybe they tried to tear them down. Just make sure that whatever story's told, it's fine to just kind of let students share, but make sure that the group doesn't encourage unchristian behavior towards enemies. So if someone did something that was really not loving, it's okay to talk about it, but don't make people say oh, that's hilarious. That was a good thing that you did. So just kind of guard it that way. And then share about how you have dealt with an enemy when you were either growing up or as a young adult. And you could either share this as a positive example or as a negative example. You could say, looking back, I did the right thing, or looking back, I was in the wrong. I did not do the right thing. Then read Luke 6:27 through 35. The passage is too long to put on this handout, so you can just read that out of the Bible. And in it, Jesus says the words about love your enemies that we talk about in the video, and then he really goes off and he talks about some concrete ways that you can do that. So examine those concrete examples of how to love your enemies, and then have students discuss this kind of love. What do they think about this kind of love? Does it seem fair? And I say here, it doesn't seem fair. I don't think it's fair to love your enemies. It's not fair that when someone hurts you that they don't get hurt in return. Justice would say that when someone does something wrong, they should pay for it. But Jesus says that love trumps this justice, and that in love you forgive a person. And interestingly, Jesus is kind of funny. He says that if you just love the people who love you, that's not very impressive, because even non-Christians do that. Anybody can love someone who loves them. It's when you love people who hate you and who don't like you and who gossip about you and who lie about you and who try to intimidate you. That's real love. And that's the love that you can have if you're a follower of Jesus. And then close by looking at Romans 12:18 that says, if it's possible, as far as it depends on you, live at peace with everyone. That God tells us we're to live at peace. We have a responsibility to seek peace in all of our relationships, especially with our enemies. Sorry about that. Select all there. Therefore, we can't be the reason there's animosity between us and someone else. And so we need to be proactive in loving other people and getting forgiveness. And so that's what we want to end with. Talk about love your enemies. And then the following week, we'll be starting a new series, and I will be back to talk to you about that. Thanks.